This USA Today 301 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. We are also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Apparently, I forgot how to run the show while Cody's gone. I was scared for while I was gone, scared for my life because Cody had done a fantastic job of filling in, and I thought the bosses aren't going to need me anymore. They're not going to care if I'm back. But here we are.
You already remembered to play the intro video, Rod. So you're scoring more points than I am this early. And I would just like to say, welcome back. Please don't ever leave me again. And I'm really happy to see you today.
It's good to be seen. Listen, apparently it's just so I did not know how much it was going to take out of me to be. There's a reason why 38-year-olds or 48-year-olds even are not allowed to go back to school. There really is. Like, it's a young man's game. I can't even stress that to you enough. It's just so tough. I'm having a fun time, but at the same time, it's mentally taxing. Waking up at 4 a.m. Eastern time, which is technically 1 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah. Boy, now the show's all thrown off because we're used to operating on Pacific time when Rod's out on the West Coast. Now he's on the East Coast. We don't really know what to do. We don't know what's going on. But glad to see you. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. And again, glad you're back today. And I really enjoy being on the show, Rod, but I like to be on this side of the show and not in the host chair because it's not as much fun for me as it is for you.
I'd say it's funny because when you think about it, everybody says, "Oh yeah, I could do that. That looks so much. I could totally do that." And then they sit in the chair and they're like, "Yeah, maybe not so much."
Not as easy as it looks, but that's all right.
No. Hi everybody in the chat. I see you all. I love you all. I'm saying hello to you all right now. We won't put them all up individually, but I definitely am glad to be here, sitting in the seat, talking NASCAR with you guys. Finally had a chance to finish Iowa. Let me tell you, I wanted to come on this show yesterday, but my right front I got a flat and I could not come on the show. So that sums up that entire weekend of racing.
There you go. JDK with a nice summary of yesterday's show. Cody stinks at ad reads and forgets to put up the graphics. Yes, that is all very accurate. That's why Rod is the professional, and that's why he's here. So, yes. But glad you're back today, ready to get into New Hampshire, break it down, a track that we've been on before, Rod. Hopefully that will make it a little easier for us than last week was.
Cody, I don't think if we'd been on this track for 25 years beforehand, it'd make it any easier. I feel like each and every race this season is getting incredibly harder to handicap because it just you just feel like you know what you're doing, and then strategy bites you, and then
Like,
flat tires, and
you feel like you know what you're doing, and and Toyotas are really good on short flat tracks, and then they just completely don't show up. So who the hell knows what's going on?
I tell you what, I know I didn't get the chance to do the recap show, but I just want to say, as I was watching the last 5 laps of that race, I cursed and thanked Brad Keselowski a grand total of 6,000 times within that. I was like, thank you, Brad Keselowski. And then all of a sudden Chastain got past him. I was like, I hate you, Brad Keselowski. And then he would get past Chastain. I was like, good for you, Brad Keselowski. And then exchange again. I'd be like, I don't even know what to do with you anymore, Brad Keselowski.
Yep, that was me as Justin Haley was going in and out of the top 10 at the end there and falling back. So that's how it goes. But oh well.
It is. You know what else, how it goes? Countdown to football season is on. SGPN's got you covered. College Football Experience is doing an individual team preview for this is nuts. If you've never been a part of this, is nuts. They literally do all FBS teams, a preview for all the FBS. Colby is a freaking just a madman, man. Does all of them. Plus you get SGPN's 5-minute fantasy football, your quick and dirty podcast, getting you prepped for all things fantasy. It's about that time, Cody.
First of all, it's always that time, right? Fantasy never ends. But it is. I wrote an article. This actually came out this morning. sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Make sure you go check that out. It's got all the Super Bowl odds for this year. Like I was, as I'm starting to write the article, I'm like, how far away are we? Like, holy shit, the Hall of Fame game is like literally a month and like a week and a half. Like we're that close to football season being here. So it's right around the corner. Time to get back up on the fantasy. JDK saying that was such a smooth transition into that read. Also, if you notice, there is not a graphic for that read. That threw me off yesterday. One of many things, but oh well. we move on anyways.
This captain's seat, sometimes it's heavy as the head that wears the crown, right? But I love it. I love you guys. I'm so glad to be back. It's better to be talking NASCAR than a lot of the stuff I've been talking about lately. But so speaking of NASCAR, there's a race this weekend, right? And we are going to be going to New Hampshire. Is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it.
Close.
Loudon, New Hampshire. I've only been to New Hampshire a couple of times. Never tried the lobster. Sorry about that to all you guys who are out there that are purists, but I can't get into any sort of lobster whatsoever. It's just not for me.
Yeah, we don't do seafood here in the Midwest, Rod. It's all about the cows. So
if you had fresh caught seafood in the Midwest, I'd certainly be questioning where that stuff came from for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's some places and you're like, which river did that come out of? Because I don't know if that's a good idea. But yes, we are going to New Hampshire, Rod. I do have the entry list for this week. Pretty simple, just 36 cars. Not much changes. Kaz Gralla back in the 15 car like he's been most of the season. And Ty Dillon returning to the 16 car to finish in last place over there. So that's it. That's the extent of your entries this week. No bonus cars, no crazy, nothing else. So that's it. Nice, simple Cup Series entry list. Kind of like the news for the Cup Series this week, Rod. There's just nothing. The rumors are intensifying. Some intensifying rumors on where people are going. The Briscoe to the 19 car sounds like it's basically a done deal. I don't know if they're just waiting for the ink to dry before they announce that, but that kind of came out of left field. Now Justin Haley to the 21 is kind of intensifying. Sounds like maybe our guy Riley Herbst is going to that third 2311 car. Still a lot of rumors, but some interesting silly season moves on the horizon for sure.
I don't even know how to wrap my head around half of what's about to happen over the course of the next few months. So just to me, as I watch all this, Haley making a strong case to be on a better team. What? I mean,
and God, like the way he's been running too. Like, I don't remember if it was Door Bumper Clear or if it was Dale Jr. One of the two were making the argument like maybe you don't leave Rick Ware for Wood Brothers. What, Rod? What, can you imagine saying that? But Jesus, I mean, it's hey, that's how it is. So
all I know, Cody, you predicted the rise of Rick Ware. So if anybody should take credit for that, you were the one that said, "Hey, pay attention to Rick Ware."
Yeah, I mean, not to this degree. I'm not taking credit for that. I thought, maybe they could do something. They were showing some effort. maybe they'd be racing for 30th instead of 34th. But yeah, I didn't think they'd be running in the top 10 on a fairly consistent basis. All of a sudden, like I don't think Rick Ware himself saw that coming. So
Rick's we're running top 10. What's going on?
What are we doing over here, guys? Jeez, why couldn't we have done this 10 years ago?
Do more. Of course, it is the USA Today 301. Remember, we run one extra lap on this 1.5 or 1.058 mile paved track. 301 laps for 318.458 miles. This is going to be interesting. Why? Because we'll talk about who's dominated this race over the last few years. And does that continue? I mean, I know you think it does, but I don't know, man, because we haven't seen too much from the man that supposedly dominated this race all this time. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Going through this, Rod, very different card this week.
Yes.
There's a couple of bets that we've hit on this season that kind of going back to, but like I surprised myself the way I went on a lot of these bets just because of this track and how things are going right now. So I'm anxious to get into this.
You are anxious to get into this? Well, then we should probably end up getting into this. So let's do that as I click around all this stuff. First, though, let me tell you, I've got no bed music. Sorry, guys. This is
if you're watching on the YouTube, by the way, you can see Rod is in his new home studio for the next few weeks, obviously out on assignment. So it's not even as smooth for Rod when he doesn't have everything where he's used to have.
No. And if you notice the table shaking or the camera shaking is because it is sitting on a flat of water on a table that's in this room. So you want to talk about mobile setup. This is down and dirty. This is about as down and dirty as podcasting can ever get for you. But if you are listening on the regular airwaves, it may not sound any different to you. I don't know. Depends on what's going on. So, all right, let's get to some bets. Let's set up these bets, but let's first tell you about Underdog Fantasy Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. You can create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog's going to automatically double flex your entries. Listen, we had a lot of fun with Underdog during the Iowa race, and we actually got a majority of them right. In fact, thank you, Brad Keselowski, for not only putting 4 Fords in the top 10, but also bumping Ross Chastain into 11th place, thereby securing his worse than 10.5 position. So Underdog came through in a pinch. You didn't even have to use any of your flex to win anything this weekend. So fantastic job there. So kudos to you. Pat yourself on the back if you went on there. More picks to make more entries, extra ways to win. Excitement is higher than ever. And the best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can also use specials and boost on all flex entries. Cannot wait to dig back in to Underdog Fantasy this week because, listen, we've been killing it, so we're going to kill it some more. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it is gone. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code RACESGPN. Beautiful stuff on Underdog. I really honestly can't wait to get back at it again. That was a fun Underdog slate.
Yes, it was really fun until Daniel Suarez fucked everything up, Rod.
Oh yeah, well, that guy. He definitely tagged Kyle Larson in the wrong.
By the way, as mad as I am at Daniel Suarez, congratulations to him, officially a dual citizen as of today. Got his United States citizenship. So yeah, shout out to Daniel, even though he completely fucked us over last week.
Jack that up. Yeah, it's all right. What can you do at this point? I know what we can do. We can start laying down some bets.
Let's do it, Rod. All right. I am going to start off with a guy that I am very high on this week, and that is Mr. Brad Keselowski. I'm going to take him in 2 different head-to-heads. The first one, Brad Keselowski over William Byron. This one's juiced up, Rod. It's minus 130. You might look at that and be like, whoa. William Byron's coming off a good run last week, right? You called the top 3, one of the few bets that we hit on last week's episode. But Rod, I think, and so to kind of set this up, short flat track, obviously New Hampshire is, maybe it's not obvious, you didn't know that, but it is a short flat track. Very comparable to Phoenix. It's definitely going to be the most comparable track Ryan over at iFantasy Race, I talked about this yesterday. He tweeted out something about how he doesn't think he's going to carry too much from Iowa to New Hampshire, and I agree with that. I don't think that, while I think that going into that with some short, flat thoughts was good, I think it kind of became its own thing with some short, flat characteristics for sure, but I don't think that that's going to translate directly to this week. So I'm once again going to be on the fade Chevrolet train. I'm going to be on the fade Hendrick a little bit train. Not ridiculously, but I don't think they're going to be the best cars like they were as good last week. Larson is kind of always the exception, although I don't think he'll be as good this week at New Hampshire as I expected him to be and as he was last week at Iowa. Had that extra testing time that really played into last week's thoughts and everything. But to get back on track, Rod, I'm taking Brad Keselowski over William Byron, -130. If you notice, the books agree with me too, because the way that they have everything set up, right? The Hendrick guys are the underdogs in a lot of these head-to-heads. If you look at like the team matchups against Joe Gibbs, it's very much in the Gibbs direction. You look at Chevy versus Toyota, very much in the Toyota direction. So Keselowski over Byron -130. And then I hate to do it. I'm sorry to my Gibbs fans out there. Plug your ears. But I'm going to take Brad Keselowski over Ty Gibbs as well, -120 over on Bet365. So Brad Keselowski has been on a tear lately. Like, holy shit, he's been doing really good. He's got 3 top 5 finishes in the last 5 races. That includes having a road course in there, so we know he's not going to get a top 5 there. So on ovals, 3 top 5s in the last 4 races. Pretty solid from Keselowski here lately. He has a top 7 in the last 4 races here at New Hampshire, which is a pretty solid track that he's been on. Won the 2020 race here, led 184 laps. Sam checking in. He's +100 over Byron on Superbook. Well, change that. I would have took it at -130. I'm definitely taking it at +100. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. But you go back and you look, 3rd place finish at Gateway a couple of weeks ago, 4th place finish at Phoenix. Again, I think Phoenix is going to be the most comparable track to New Hampshire, as well as just looking back at New Hampshire in the past. But you look at the last 5 races here from iFantasyRace.com. Number 1 rank in best average finish of 5.2. You might have thought it would be Martin Truex Jr. because of how much he owns this place. It's actually Brad Keselowski. He also has the best average driver rating and the best average running position. So he is really fucking good here. Not only that, but now Ford has things clicking. Brad has things clicking. He's running a special Boston Red Sox paint scheme this weekend. The Celtics just won the title. Everything Boston right now, it's all going in their direction. I think that's going to be a fast car. You go back and you look at William Byron. He has 6 starts at New Hampshire, Rod. Never finished better than 11th place. That kind of sticks out because, 11th place is an okay run. But for William Byron, he's never been better than 6, which is pretty crazy. 24th and 11th in the 2 next-gen starts. Go back to Gateway, 15th place. That's the William Byron I'm expecting to see this weekend. You go back to Phoenix, 18th place. That's the William Byron that I'm expecting to see this weekend. And even if he is a top 10 car, edge of the top 10, I think Keselowski's going to be one of the top 5, maybe even going to win this race types of cars. That's why I'm taking him there. When you go over to Ty Gibbs, it's just like it seems like, and I looked back, it seems like Ty Gibbs has just been like falling on hard times, and really it's not been that bad. 25th last week, 37th. Rod in his sophomore slump. 25th last week at Iowa, right? And 37th at Sonoma. Bad races, but he was 11th at Gateway, 6th at Charlotte. So not bad runs a couple of weeks before that. He was 3rd at Phoenix earlier this year. So I will point that out because that could be important in translating to this. So a couple of reasons I'm taking this bet, Rod. I think that Keselowski has really good potential to win this race, be a top 3 car. I don't think Gibbs is going to be quite that good. I think Gibbs could be top 5, top 10, though. I'm hoping to see him turn things back around and not continue on this sophomore slump, and maybe cheering for it a little bit, right? So bet against him. It's like when the Huskers play, Rod. I bet against them, and then they either win and I'm happy, or I win and I'm happy. So that's what I'm taking this week. But I think that Gibbs could be good, but I think that there's a lot of question marks there too. And I think Keselowski's just going to be that much better. So long-winded, but give me Keselowski over Byron, +100, over on Superbook. Thank you, Sam. And Keselowski over Gibbs at -120.
You just got used to talking by yourself yesterday. That's all there's to it. Like you knew it. You were like, this is all me. I'm ready. Let's go. Rod's been training me for this for years now. Let's go.
Yeah, only 436 episodes of training before that. So you at least did some of the stuff right. I got to work on the ad reads part, but
From a guy who was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could do this. And then here we are, 435 episodes later, and he's a stud. All right, my first bet. I'm going to turn to two of the hottest drivers on the track. And I wanted to, I mean, I know you found some pretty good top 10s later on down the road that you like, but I think outside of what you're giving out, it just feels like that's it. Like that's the only type of ones outside of the chalk that you can even decide to take, right? So I'm going to take two of the hottest drivers. You can combine them for both top 10 finishes and top 10 numbers right now, especially down in the favorites area are just abysmal, like -200 in some cases. Like you don't want to touch any of that, right? So I'm going to take Ryan Blaney. I'm going to take Kyle Larson, two of the fastest drivers from last week, put them together as a top 10, both of them inside the top 10. Caesar's guys, those combined top 10 bets. That's +100. So it's the same as Kez over William Byron, right? But you're putting both Blaney and Larson inside of the top 10. It's almost difficult to try to not make the argument for this because, like we said, both of these guys are hot. The only kind of hang up comes in the fact that Blaney, that was one of his best finishes overall this season, right? I mean, he's had 5 top 10s in 17 starts, that one win, only 7 top 10s. So it's been kind of rough for Blaney. Gateway, he started 3rd, finished 24th, right? Charlotte on a 1.5 miles, crashed out of that one. Darlington had a DVD problem. He rented the wrong DVD, or he rented it and didn't bring it back to Blockbuster and they closed and he didn't ever get to
you
pay the fine.
Be kind and rewind, bro.
You gotta be kind. But you turn to Dover, right? Dover's another mile track, 7th in that one as well. Martinsville, it's not a mile, but it's not 1.5 miles. 5th place in that one. 5th in Phoenix, which is another mile there as well. It's Blaney. I mean, this guy can pop up and finish top 5 in any single race. He could pop up and win when I don't even know he was on any of our radars last week, honestly. We were talking about how good Ford was, but we were mainly talking about how good Ford would be inside of the top 10. None of us put him in the win column, and there he snuck up and won. This track actually has his number a little bit, which is a little bit concerning for you. He's only got 4 top 10 finishes and 11 starts. 2 of his last 3 have actually been outside of the top 18. He did get a 5th place in 2021. He's at a 4th place here before. 7th, 9th are some of his best finishes. So, I mean, 3 races in the last 4 years have been pretty bad for him, but he's riding some pretty good momentum right now coming off of that win. And all we're asking him to do is get inside of the top 10. That's something that Ryan Blaney can probably do in his sleep. Kyle Larson to get in the top 10. Kyle Larson to get in the top 10. The only thing that can stop him is an errant car, Daniel Suarez, and himself, right? Like those are the only folks that can stop him from getting inside of the top 10. And I don't even see a scenario in which he doesn't. Again, although I say that in his track, I mean, you pull up his track history here and it's not the greatest either, but he did have a 3rd place finish last year in 2023, 7th place in 2021, started 8th, finished 14th in 2022. 7 top 10s and 13 starts. So he's doing it more than he's not. However, it's just tough. I mean, or he gets Chastained. Yeah, Jessica right there, or he gets Chastained. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can grab Kyle Larson and put him in a chokehold, but I think he's on such a good tear right now that this is a more favorable track for drivers because they know what they're going to be up against. They know what's waiting for them at the end. And so I don't think they're going to be a whole lot. I mean, honestly, Cody, we see guys jump out and lead an absorbent amount of laps, right? Martin Truex Jr. leading like 240 laps a couple seasons ago. So it's a Larson to get in the top 10, pretty much a shoo-in barring any sort of mistake. Blaney getting in the top 10, that should happen with the momentum he's on. So you put them both together, give you a little even money. I'll take it.
Yeah, the Blaney part of things, I mean, you love what you've seen on short flats, and you love what you've seen from Ford, especially on the short tracks here lately. Wins last week, obviously, you can take that into account. should have won it at Gateway a couple of weeks ago. A lap and a half short on fuel, obviously. Wins the championship at Phoenix back in the fall. So he's obviously got the short flat thing figured out. Not the greatest track record here. New Hampshire's a little tougher too because we only come once a year. So we've only been here twice in the next gen car and stuff like that. But I do like the Blaney side of things coming off the win. Obviously, he's got the momentum, been running really well lately. Larson, you laid out the case perfectly. Like, Larson should be in the top 10, but Larson things happen, right? And that's what happened to us last week. That's what can be frustrating. But if all things go as they should, which is generally the case in NASCAR, but I do like it.
Anvils falling from the sky, hitting Kyle Larson by the name of Ross Chastain. All right, we will continue down our betting path as we always do, but let's first tell you about Rhythm. If you're betting on NBA player props, you need to download Rhythm. You got to have Rhythm. Rhythm's a go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists, which, let's face it, we all know that they're good, right? And those quants with over 3 years of data that help you drive. Go Google quants if you don't know what it is. I guarantee you're going to be enlightened if you haven't figured that out yet. 3 years of data. They help you drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Rhythm is great at identifying value on bench players. Rhythm was on Hauser over 5.5 points in game 4 and totally nailed it. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
All right, Rod. Next up for me, going over to Caesars. Again, they've started to bring back the finishing position, only offering a handful of drivers, right? Usually only earlier in the week, so get in on this earlier rather than later. Rod, they've got an interesting one over there, and it is Burton. 28.5 is the finishing position. I'm going to take the under, which is the better than. Rod, did you know in the history of New Hampshire, a lot of these tracks we go to, like one guy's won like 10 races and 8 races and all this. 4 is the most anyone's ever won at New Hampshire. One of those drivers being Kevin Harvick. The other one being Burton, tied for the most wins there. 39 starts for Burton here. Only 4 times has he finished worse than this number. 2 of those were in his first 2 starts here back in 1993 and 1990. Oh, wait, this is Harrison Burton. Sorry, I was reading Jeff Burton's stats. I guess I got that a little confused, but that's okay. But, Rod, I will say, I was joking, obviously, a little bit. Jeff Burton, Harrison's dad, really fucking good at this track. He was really good here. But, so I looked at this, and I'm like, under, right? Or over. You got to take the over on Harrison Burton because he fucking sucks. I mean, really, if we're going to be honest, he does. And he's getting replaced. We know that, right? And which driver it's going to be, we don't know. But he's done at the end of the year. So I'm like, I'm taking over on this. Well, I start to look at things and go through things, and I'm like, actually, kind of like, I don't know if I can make the case for him to be worse than Rod. So I'm going to make the case for Harrison Burton to be better than, which is exciting because he's not a guy we get to talk about very often. So maybe, he didn't necessarily get all of the good racing genes from his dad, although he's not a bad race car driver. Just things haven't worked out for him. But 2 starts here for Harrison Burton. 26th in the first start, 20th in his second start. So he improved a little bit, and he's been better than 28.5 in both starts. So that's promising. He finished 20th last week at Iowa. That's better than. You go back to Phoenix, 27th there. That's also under the 28.5 number that you're looking at. So that's good. In 6 of the last 9 races this season, he's finished better than 28.5. So chalk that up in his column. And in 9 of 17 races this season, he's been better than the 28.5 number. So, Rod, again, not something you hear me say very often. Give me Harrison Burton this week. Finish better than 28.5. I thought this was kind of a fun, different way to get in on something. Not a driver we talk about very often. Not a driver we expect to run in the top 10. I mean, you're going to be watching the ticker from 26th to 35th probably all day, hoping Harrison's is sticking above this. But looking at the numbers, he's done 2 for 2 doing it here. So that's a positive thing. I think that with his dad having been so good here, maybe he's at least taken some of those pointers, and it's not going to translate into what his dad did here, but it can get him into 28th place at the very least. So give me Harrison Burton under 28.5 finishing position, -115 over on Caesars.
We've said it time and time again. We want to give you something to cheer up and down the entire ticker. JDK saying, what did he say? Because I clicked on it and it didn't work. There it goes. It says, go watch The Big Short if you want to know what quants are. I'm going to have to go watch that. I mean, I already know what they are because I looked them up, but Robert Williams says, what's up, guys? Can't wait to go to New Hampshire this weekend. Hope all the bets hit. Well, what do we? Yes. We'd like a better week than we've had the last couple of weeks. Caesars, Brandon says Caesars picked a bunch of high lines for the over under this week. Honestly, they did.
Yeah, they did. So which I really like, and I wish they would do this more. And also the groups, there's 4 shitbox groups, of just horrible fucking drivers all mixed matched together, which is great. But yeah, like Brandon pointed out, I mean, you've got, and I hate how they fucking list this shit, Rod, because you can't see anything. You got to go into the speakeasy to actually see which driver is which. But they've got Michael McDowell is listed.
That's what
21.
I'm doing.
Oh yeah, you're going to talk about that. Harrison Burton, obviously. Stenhouse at 23.5, which Brandon points out he's finished under that the last 4 times here. So, and he's coming off a 5th place finish at Iowa. You got Cindric on here at 19.5. So again, they've only got, I guess those are the only 5 that they're offering. But yeah, they're all Chastain's 12.5, but otherwise all bigger numbers than 19 or more. So I kind of like that, and I wish they would do that more often.
Yep, and I'm pouncing on one of those right now, and that's Michael Mickey D under, so the better than 21.5 to finish 21st or better. Let's translate it that way. You need a quant to tell you what that is. -115 is the line on this one. Michael McDowell on this particular track, I can understand why they give you this 21.5, because traditionally he is garbage on this track, and he'll probably tell you the same thing. He has not eaten lobster ever on this track. Hasn't even smelled the lobster. The lobsters ran away from him every single time. Average finish on this track, 31.5. However, I will point to you that 3 of his last 5 races here have been inside of that 21.5 point range, finish range rather. 2019, 17th, 2020, 19th. Back-to-back years in 2021, 2022 were some rough years, 25th, 28th, but then he rebounded last year for a 13th place finish overall in 2023. This season alone, his average finish, boy, they nailed it too. Did Caesars. 21.5 is his number. 21.1 or 21.2 rather is his average finish this year. So they were like, can he finish better than his average? Let's see. Which is, it's pretty much a good point. Can he? Last week at Iowa, 23rd. The week before that in Sonoma, 2nd. Started on the pole at Gateway. Had a fast car in qualifying. Couldn't necessarily keep up with that. Dropped like a rock the first time. And then finished 25th. 16th at Charlotte. 10th at Darlington. 10th at Kansas. 36th at Dover. He actually had a hub problem. That was not but he started in the top 8, right? Started on the pole in Talladega. Crashed out of Texas, finished 21st at Martinsville, 11th at Bristol, 8th at Phoenix. There is comforting and promising numbers out there that back up Michael McDowell being pretty decent when he can be, when he wants to be. He's not particularly fantastic at this track, but I think he's what we've seen out of Fords these last few weeks too, especially, and what we've seen out of him, especially, as long as anvils stay out of his way, as long as pianos quit falling from the sky on Michael McDowell, you're going to get, I think, a top 20 finish out of him this week. Like I have a feeling that he's a good enough driver in a good enough car right now to finish inside of the top 20. He should not be falling outside of the top 20 unless there's something that goes wrong or he gets caught up in something. So I like the 21.5. I think that's well within his realm of possibility. So yeah, give me Michael McD. What was it? Under 21.5, better than 21.5. Yes, that's what it is.
Yes. I don't know. I never know how to feel about Michael McDowell, Rod. So that's about the extent of what I'm going to say there. Nick Fortune, Evening Hot Rod, Sassy Cody. Laura says, I love lobsters. Jessica says, lobster, I'll pass. By the way, if you didn't know, a lobster is part of the trophy that is here. Denny Hamlin If you look at Denny Hamlin's Wikipedia page, it says the phobia that he has, that is the phobia of shellfish. He's very scared of the lobster that he's held. I believe he's 1 or 3 times too, which is great. So Jessica wants to know what else we have on the bingo card. Yes, we have already talked about Harrison Burton and Michael McDowell. So who's next on the the bingo card for drivers we don't normally talk about, Rod? I don't have anyone different this time, but I'm going back to Brad Keselowski. Very, very big on Keselowski this week. Keselowski is going to make or break how my weekend goes, most likely. But Superbook has a group, Rod. It's Group B over there, and it's plus 390 for Keselowski to win this. This is not an easy group. This is a very tough group. But the fact that you're getting him at plus 390, all he has to do is beat 3 other guys. I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get invested in this. Those 3 guys are Kyle Larson. So we're swinging for the fences already, right? We know he's the best driver. We know how good he is. But Iowa, but Gateway, but right, it doesn't always work out for him. And the short flats haven't necessarily always been the best. Yeah, he was good last week. Had the testing. We saw that coming. It was almost tempting to want to take him this week, Rod, because we hit him at Sonoma at 7-1. We had him last week. It's plus 750 when he was the best car. Then he comes out this week and opens at 750 again, and you're like, oh. But then you look at New Hampshire and you look at Phoenix and you look at Gateway and you kind of slide down in your seat and you say, maybe not. So there's a lot of volatility on Larson, which can be good, can be bad, but I like that with him being in this group. Ty Gibbs is in this group. I already talked about Keselowski over Gibbs, so kind of the same point remains there. The other person in this group, Joey Logano. Joey Logano has been up and down, Rod, right? He's still sitting outside of the playoffs. Austin Cindric is in the playoffs. NBC will tell you he's locked into the playoffs, even though he's not actually locked into the playoffs because that's not how it works. But Joey Logano is still sitting on the outside looking in. Are they going to have to be more conservative and really try to race for points and whatnot? I don't know. And the Fords have been good. The Penske Fords obviously have been good on the shorter flat tracks. Obviously, Blaney should have won both of them. Cindric wins one. Blaney wins one of them. So I think Joey will be good. But again, this is the fact that you're getting Keselowski. All he has to do is beat 3 guys at plus 390. I like the odds there. I'm also going to toss in Keselowski top 5 plus 250 because he's been really fucking good here, Rod. 23 starts, 10 top 5 finishes. 14 of those 23 times he's finished inside the top 7. So he's either in the top 5 or in the conversation for a top 5 almost every single time. Give me Keselowski top 5 plus 250 on top of that.
You stole the bread man from me. I was definitely going to take him for sure. And then once I jumped in the dock, yeah, you had, and I was like, fine then. JDK wants to say, how has no one mentioned host of our top 10 plus 900? Because every time we do JDK, he never finishes inside the top 10.
That's not true because he did hit for us at Gateway, so honorable mention for Carson, host of our top 10. It's so difficult, Rod, because like sometimes you just keep giving out the same bets every week. And it is a good bet to make again this week. So I probably should, you know what? Fuck it. You talked me into it. I'm going to officially get it. So I'm adding it. Carson, host of our top 10 at plus 900. That's your bonus bet of the week. Thanks, JDK, for peer pressure. But as I think about it, I didn't want to give it out again because I keep giving it out. It hit for us at Gateway. Didn't hit last week, but it was fucking close again. You're still getting another good number. Like, how do you not? And I've got a different way that I'm on host of our coming up that we'll talk about. But I think you need to take his top 10 at plus 900 again because he's been doing it or getting really close to it. So thank you, JDK, for making me pull my head out of my ass. And I will officially add that to the card.
I still can't get behind it. I'm sorry. I'll
save the rest of my.
You will.
I've got some hosts of our stats coming up here.
Indeed. Laura wants to know, will Josh Berry repeat? I tried so hard to want to do that.
Yeah. I wanted to too, but the odds aren't there. And so I went with a similar driver that's in a similar car that I'll talk about in a few minutes because the number's a lot bigger. But I'll tell you, I wanted to bet on Josh Berry this week. I think he should show up. They've obviously got something going on the short flat tracks. That's his specialty. Childers is good at those as well as crew chief. But hard to bet on. And again, to the point that we've tried to make a million times, sometimes you like guys. And I specifically tried to find a way to bet on Josh Berry because I think he'll be good this week. Maybe he'll come up in the fantasy episode for that reason. But just not any really great ways. You can get a little bit of plus money for a top 10. I don't hate it, but it wasn't good enough to make me want to put it on the card.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was the same with me. I was like, oh man, Josh Berry's looking pretty good. And then I was like, not his numbers. So I'm going to stay away from that for sure. I will turn my attention though to young Bubba Wallace. Not a popular name in this space. I get it, but top 10 number plus 220. The only thing is this, right? When you want to bet on Bubba Wallace, which I know not a lot of you guys do, that's fine. You look at his average finishing position of 17.1. 17th at Iowa, really didn't even show up at Iowa. He wasn't necessarily even a factor there. I'm throwing out the road course. He started 8th, finished 21st at Gateway. He did have an 11th in Charlotte, 7th in Darlington, but 17th at Kansas, 32nd in Dover. He crashed out of that one, right? 7th at Texas, great. 4th at Martinsville, okay. But, 13th at Richmond, 16th at Phoenix. It's not encouraging. I get it. I understand. I know that you can make a bigger case to not bet Bubba than to bet Bubba. But if we believe that Toyotas are going to be as strong as they are, right? If we believe that 2311 and Gibbs are going to be strong again, right? Yeah, Bubba, I get it. But in the last couple of seasons, he's had a 3rd place finish and an 8th place finish here. Sometimes, and we've seen this a lot, all it takes is for a familiar track. All it takes is for friendly company and friendly surroundings to get your head on straight, right? And we could see Bubba Wallace actually returning to this, remembering how to get into the top 10 because he's done it the last couple. And it's not as if he's been coming up through the field to do it, right? He started 8th, finished 8th, started 4th, finished 3rd. The last couple of JDK signing off. So he's been qualifying well, and he finishes well. So if he does that again, if he finishes or if he qualifies somewhere inside of the top 10, then I foresee a top 10 finish from him and he can hang on to it. The only thing really that plus 220 for a car and a team and a driver that should be a top 10 almost each and every week, that feels like a good deal if it hits like it has the last couple of years. That's really the only thing that stops you is just knowing that it hasn't, right? And knowing that you can't pull the trigger because of last week, because of a couple of weeks ago, and because of the fact that he's crashed out of these. You hear it in his voice on the radio when he gets discouraged. You know that when he does the post-race interviews after he wrecks out, he's always like, I don't even know what's going on at this point. So again, maybe the New Hampshire air will help him see the light and be able to get back into the top 10, but he's got a fast enough car. He's a talented enough driver. He should be able to do it.
Yeah, I really like this. I think, more than 2-1 for a guy who's 2 for 2 doing it in the next gen era. He's been good here lately. That's a good enough case for me. So I like it. I don't really know how to take Robert's comment here. Great listening to you guys while in the shower.
How's the acoustics, Robert? Are we bouncing off the? I want to know. I sing pretty well in the shower, so I want to know how I sound in the podcast. In the
weird to say, but I feel like Rod's voice in the shower would probably be pretty good. So we'll give you that through the speakers, Rod. Of course, Jesus.
Somebody cut that out as a short.
Rubbing and grubbing checking in. What's up, Roko? Hey, I like that, Roko.
Ooh, Roko.
Hope you all are doing well. But anyways. I do like the Wallace play, Rod. I think that you have a good point there. So we're going to go to the top 10s that I originally had on the card before JDK decided to add to my top 10 card. And I mentioned, right, I wanted to get in on Josh Berry. Number wasn't good enough, but Rod, it is good enough on his teammate Chase Briscoe. And I do like that. So Chase Briscoe plus 350 for a top 10. Go back to 2022, 15th place here. So just outside the top 10. Last season, improved that a little bit to top 10s or to the top 10 and in being in 10th place. Briscoe used to be, him and Almirola, which I know JDK mentioned earlier. RIP to betting on Almirola at New Hampshire because that made me a lot of fucking money over the years. And I'm sad that it's gone. Yes, Kevin Harvick. Well, Kevin Harvick everywhere, though. That's the thing. But with Almirola, it was specifically at this track. But Briscoe, short flats is really good. Like I said, 10th place last season, 9th at Phoenix earlier this season, 10th place at Martinsville as well. Again, not super comparable, but a short flat, so we'll take it for what it's worth. Gateway, 17th, so not too far outside of the top 10 there. Go back to Phoenix last season, 7th place. 4th and 5th places at Martinsville. And not only that, Rod, but if you're walking around the garage area and you are the most wanted man in the garage area. It sounds to me like everybody that has an open ride wants Chase Briscoe to be their man. Not only does everybody that have an open ride want him to be the man, but Coach Joe Gibbs himself wants you to come take over the 19 car, be an immediate title contender starting next season. That's got to feel pretty fucking good. That would make me walk with a little extra pep in my step. That would make me a little extra confident, especially if I know. Sounds like he already knows, and an announcement is coming in the near future, right? You probably let the things kind of settle down from the Truex retirement thing, and then they're going to announce it. He's going to have that extra pep in his step, nothing to lose. Plus 350 for a top 10. Love this for a good short flat track racer in Chase Briscoe. And then Rod, going back to the well, Justin Haley, top 10, 8-1. Look, Justin Haley's been the guy. Last week, again, he was in the top 10 at Iowa, more than he wasn't in the top 10. I know he didn't quite cash, but he was there. Again, Ford has things figured out on short tracks. RFK has things figured out on short tracks, which Rick Ware is being produced inside of the RFK shop now. So they've got that partnership. I think that Keselowski's going to be good. I think that can translate to Haley's car. Haley specifically is good on shorter, flatter tracks. You look at the Coliseum, he almost won the thing the first year we were there. He was really good in the All-Star Open a few weeks ago at North Wilkesboro. Again, another short track. He has 3 top 13 finishes in the last 5 races in a Rick Ware racing car, Rod. I never thought I would see the day, but absolutely love it. And that's why his name's being bounced around there for these other, jobs. So going back to the Haley well at plus 800. And then, of course, we're going to toss in the Carson host of our top 10 at plus 900 because I was peer pressured into it. Not only that, but it is a good bet. And I think that it is good to have on the card.
Haley's like when that Pinto on your local short track, like everybody's got these, souped up whatevers. And then that one dude is rolling in a Pinto and just
shows up, kicks
killing
everybody's ass.
Yeah. He comes on and you're like, is that dude driving a Pinto? Next thing you know, he's lapping the field like 4 or 5 times on his way to the win. He's like, yeah, I'm driving a Pinto. What's up with that? So, look, I've been impressed. I've been impressed with Haley. It's crazy to watch a guy like that who we knew. I mean, we talked about it too last season, especially during the Clash, during these races where we said, you know what, don't sleep on him because he's actually a better driver than his equipment is right now. And of course, he was in Colic equipment back then. But at this point, like, he's better. He's a better driver than the equipment that he's in. And he's really elevating Rick Ware. And I'm sure Rick Ware is like, bro, don't go anywhere. Like, we need you to continue to elevate this equipment because if you can continue to do this, we can continue to actually improve it and give you a better car each and every week. So it's a win-win for both of them, I think, in this case. So good on Haley.
I like it.
So, all right. I'm going to try to predict Joseph Logano again.
Good luck.
Well, look, it's going to happen or it's not going to happen at this point. And I think I'm going to flip a coin and say that it is. I'm honestly, for Joey, it is tough because you can get a 21st like he did at the road course after he started on the pole. You can get a 5th place at Gateway. You can get a 6th place at Iowa, excuse me, or you can get a 14th at Charlotte, 21st at Darlington. We know his ups and downs are well documented over the course of this entire world. But I will point to the fact that at this particular track, 3 of his last 4 races have all finished inside of the top 5. So I'm going to take Joey Logano top 5 at plus 150. It's a little shorter than what I would have felt comfortable with, but I think the fact that he's done it 3 out of the last 4 years has made the books go. We can ignore his recent history this season and just look at this track history alone, which is what I'm doing, and I'm kind of saying, you know what, you're right, books, at this point. The fact that it's plus 150 is not going to make you go run out and plunk down thousands of dollars on this, despite the cap that you may have. But I do believe that it's going to be a winning bet at the end of the day. And I think it's not a bad opportunity to get in even at plus money. We've said it before. And if it's your first time listening to the show, we get spoiled in NASCAR. We see lots of plus 400s, lots of plus 10-1s and all these crazy things that we can hit on. But we tend to forget that sometimes plus 150 is just as good depending on how you bet it. So 4th place finish in 2020 for Joey Logano, 4th place in 2021, 24th place finish in 2022, but he did lead 25 laps of that race. He was a fast car. he should have probably ended up finishing somewhere in the top 10 at least, if not top 5. And then a second place last year in 2023 for Joey Logano. Again, this season's been kind of crazy. He did finish 6th in Iowa, like I said last week, just a spot outside. He probably should have finished inside of the top 5. Joey should have been able to make a run into the top 5, but I think just the fact that everybody was going on different tire strategies just kind of muddled that up. So I believe he probably should have had that top 5 finish like he did at Gateway. He finished 6th at Martinsville, which again, not comparable track, but it's close enough in my opinion. Second place at Richmond. Yeah, I mean, Joey Logano is going to get it done or he's not. That's what I'm saying. And that's what we're always saying. But at the number that he's at, plus 150, if he cashes, it's plus money, right? Nobody's going to be sad about cashing a plus money bet, no matter how small the odds. So yeah, give me Joey Logano plus 150 for a top 5 over there on Bet365.
May the odds be ever in your favor, Rob. It's Joey Logano, like I always say. He's the toughest guy to predict, but this is the type of track where he's going to be good. Sort of a home race-ish for him, right? Connecticut guy, so I feel like New Hampshire is close to Connecticut. All those Northeast states are all together.
You're talking to a guy from California. Yeah, I have no.
It's like the Midwest, right? Everything's close here, so it's fine. But anyways, Rod, moving on. I have talked myself into something that I could regret later on. That's very, very possible. But this is going to be a lot like the Sheldon Creed deal from last week, where you expect this driver to be good. You know that this driver can be good. This driver has a good history on this track and this type of track, and they're in a fairly good car that's been strong lately. But things don't always go their way. They get in their own way. They, you get the point, right? It's like Sheldon Creed, Rod, but this time it's Kyle Busch. But I feel like you're getting good numbers on all of these. That's why you can take these bets. It's much like when we bet on Larson as the outright. It's hard to do it when it's plus 300, but when it's plus 750, when it's plus 800, it still sucks when Daniel Suarez wrecks him and it doesn't cash. But you knew that was kind of one of the risks of what happens, right? Is he gets a little over aggressive and things don't pay off. That's the same thing with Kyle Busch. He's been fast lately, Rod. He was running good at Gateway, gets into it with Kyle Larson, hits the wall and ends up with a bad day. He was looking good last week. I don't remember what happened to him, and something happened. He was looking good at Sonoma, I think it was, and something happened there. Like, just things haven't been going his way, but he's been looking okay, and he's had a good car. His teammate, Austin Dillon, just finished 6th place at Gateway a couple of weeks ago. If Austin Dillon can finish 6th place in these RCR cars, one of the best racers in the history of racing, Kyle Busch, can certainly do so, Rod. So we're going to take a little bit of a car lift here on Kyle Busch. Top 10 is 2-1. So you're getting a good number. This allows for him to be pretty good, have some struggles, hang around, and be in the top 10. Still a 2-1. I feel like that's a good number. His top 5 is 6-1. All right, he's having a pretty good day, but he doesn't quite get to be the top Chevy. He doesn't quite win the race, whatever. You're still cashing a 6-1. That's a solid day. We're also going to take him to the top finishing Chevrolet at 13-1, Rod. You go back to Gateway a few weeks ago, Austin Dillon in 6th place was that top finishing Chevy. I know that I was against Chevy last week, and I know that was a grave error. We didn't know much about Iowa going in, and I don't think everything completely translates over from last week to this week. I expect them to struggle here. I read off guys like William Byron. He's one of the favorites in this top Chevy market. He's never finished better than 11th place here. So keep that in mind, right? We know how Larson can be. Jessica says she misses KB kicking ass. He used to. And after his comments about like Hendrick and stuff this week, can you imagine Kyle Busch going into that 48 car, Rod? Oh man, I would fucking love to see it. But in JDK topping in here, pretty sure Kyle Busch wrecked out last year in the race and qualifying. You can't worry about stuff like that, JDK. Bad things are going to happen, right? So, but yeah, it happens. He does have 3 wins here. In 5 of the last 12 races here, he's led over 95 laps, Rod. That's kind of the best statistic I could pull out. Things haven't always been great for KB here. We know, obviously, the end of the Joe Gibbs racing years were a little tough. And then moving over to RCR here, things have been up and down. But they've shown a lot of speed on the shorter tracks this season. He's looked pretty good here lately. You're getting good numbers on all these. So top 10, 2-1, top 5, 6-1, top Chevy, 13-1. Give me all those for Kyle Busch. And then, Rod, staying in that top Chevrolet market, this is where Carson Hocevar comes in, 80-1. I'm doing this like I did last week, right? It was AJ Allmendinger. You pick a guy that you feel like could be there at the end and can get it done. The reason I think so is because if you look back at last week, Ricky Stenhouse was 5th. Was he the top finishing Chevy? No, but kind of a random guy. He's been pretty good at that track. He'd won there multiple times in Xfinity, and at that style of track, sort of good as well. But if you can find a guy that gets up there and finishes well, you saw Austin Dillon be the top finishing Chevrolet at Gateway a couple of weeks ago. Again, a completely different scenario. We've had some of these other short tracks where you don't have to be a great finishing Chevrolet to be the top Chevy. You could finish 9th or 11th or 12th, maybe even, and still cash this 80-1. I think that Hocevar is worth a sprinkle at 80-1. Just a little tiny bit. I get
sure.
It's 80-1. Of course, it's a stretch, Rod.
It's
80-1 for a reason, but we don't just give out 80-1s for no reason here, Rod. We don't. There's a reason for it. If Chevy's bad, and it's an if, right? We don't know for sure. They were good last week when I thought maybe they would be bad, but they weren't good at Gateway when we didn't think they would be good. They weren't good at Phoenix earlier this season. They haven't always been the short flats here as of late. And I think that's going to kind of stick. Now, could Kyle Larson come out and just be great and finish top 5 or win this race? Are we going to be super shocked? No, but could Kyle Larson wreck it into the tire barrier or get too aggressive under Suarez or hit Kyle Busch, trying to pass for 9th place at the end of stage 1? Yeah, all those things have happened in the last 3 weeks. So that's how it can go. It can go either way.
Yeah. Well, and again, like you said, we don't give these out for just no reason. So 100% with you on the fact that that is a bet. So, all right. Speaking of one that I'm going to give out with full confidence, that is my winning number bet. Do you miss me still, Cody? You still miss me?
Well, I can't hear you, Rod. You're breaking up. Well, see you later. Oh.
Wow, Rod's jet is wild. Armin called him away real quick this time, didn't he? Yeah, so I'm going to go back to my winning car number bet, and I'm going to go back to that because, damn it all, it just hits. That's really how it is. Maybe I'm getting a little overconfident this week, but I'm picking the winning car number between 10 and 19. This is at plus 120. It's one of the lower, shorter odds of this, and that's fine. But again, it's the whole thing where if I think it's going to hit, then it's not a bad idea to take it because that's exactly where what you want to do. You want to take the bets that you think are going to hit. So as far as the winning car number between 10 and 19, obviously we know who that entails, right? That entails a Noah Gragson, who that guy's actually been not half bad if he hasn't been collected and stuff lately. It gives you Denny Hamlin, obviously, the guy who's won 3 times and 3 lobsters that he probably just gave to somebody else. Ryan Blaney, you get in that one as well. You get Chris Buescher. Hey, say what you will, but Buescher was actually in a pretty good position in Iowa until his car had his problems with it. So, Yep, the tire went down. Well, everybody's tires went down in that one. And then it gives you Martin Truex Jr., who odds-on favorite to that one. That is a pretty big swath of folks in there that have the potential to win this race. And honestly, Cody took the guys, obviously, that I wanted to go up with. And so I'm going to kind of cop out on my outright bets here. But honestly, look, 10 to 19's got some great hitters in there. And it's got Hamlin and it's got Truex in there. But again, it's got the other guys that could jump up and win this race, like Blaney, right? And instead of trying to break this up like a first touchdown bet, try to put quarter units or whatever on everybody to try to cash one, just take the number bet and roll with it, because 10 to 19, if Truex wins, or if Truex leads 245 laps and doesn't win, and Denny Hamlin wins, and you put your mortgage on Truex, like I think you should, and you think you should, then you're still covered, especially if Blaney jumps up and wins again. And hey, if Kaz Grala picks up a win in his Rick Ware car,
Ty Dillon, baby.
If Ty Dillon, okay, now we're getting too far. Okay. Chase Briscoe wins on the pure adrenaline of being in the 19 pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't feel like I have to defend number bets that hard anymore, but 10 to 19 plus 120, give me that one for the winning car number.
Yeah, I'm really glad you took this. I looked at it and I was like, if I was going to take one, this is the one I want. I bet if I leave it, Rod will take it. I was correct. Christopher Bell, obviously the biggest one that scares you, not being in this group, of course, in the 20 car, but just getting Hamlin and Truex alone, that's great. You toss in Blaney, who's won at Iowa, should have won at Gateway. I mean, he's been really good lately. So let's not forget about that. Getting all three of those guys at plus 120, and then tossing in the wild card of a Chase Briscoe, he's won at Phoenix before. He could win at this type of track, especially with the momentum of flying high, potentially getting into this Joe Gibbs ride next season. So I do like it, Rod. I have some sad news to share with you, unfortunately. I know you're a big Giants baseball fan. Willie Mays just passed away.
No.
Yes. 93 years old, one of the greats, obviously, in baseball. So, man, that's
hey, kid.
That's pretty sad. Laura wants to know if she missed Chase Elliott.
We missed Chase Elliott.
We did. God damn it, Rod. He's been JDK will tell you this. He's been the most consistent guy this season. But just again, there was no good way to bet on him. Like his top 10 numbers, not any good. What was he at? He's plus 250 for a top 5, but I don't think the Chevys are going to be that good this week. Like, I don't know. I couldn't do anything on Elliott this week. So no Elliott for me, Rod. All right, to the outright section, because I just got done harping on him. Kyle Busch, 45-1. That's my lone shot this week. That's how much I believe. No, just kidding. That's not actually true, but I am taking Kyle Busch.
If you had only one outright this week, Cody,
Rod.
I would have to check your temperature because that's not you.
No, I never have just one, but I am taking Kyle Busch. 45-1 over on Caesars is the best number I've seen for him. Again, just a feel in him this week, like I was feeling Sheldon Creed last week, and I can't say I was wrong, Rod. He was pretty good. Didn't obviously hit, but sometimes you get those feelings. This is the type of track where he could shape things up. Just imagine how it would change the narrative of everything. Like, say, Austin Cindric. We just saw it recently happen. It can happen. Maybe he's not the best car. Maybe somebody runs out of gas in the last lap. Maybe somebody blows a tire with 7 laps to go. Other things can happen, Rod. Maybe an engine expires and then someone runs out of gas and he wins the race. That's how these types of things happen. So do like Kyle Busch at 45-1. Brad Keselowski, 18-1. Talked about him earlier as well. Absolutely just in love with Keselowski this week, Rod. He has the best average finish over the last 5 races at New Hampshire, and yet he's 18-1 over on Superbook. I don't understand it. He's run extremely well lately. Like I said, top 7 in the last 4 races here. 1 in 2020 in dominating fashion. Led 184 laps. And yeah, that was back in the Penske days when he was really good in the 2 car. Well, what's the 6 car in RFK been lately? Pretty fucking good, right? So, yeah, I like it. 18-1 for Keselowski. But the way to go this week, Rod, sometimes you just have to take one of the favorites, and this is one of those weeks. Martin Truex Jr. is 5-1 over on Superbook. Yeah, he hasn't run great the last couple of weeks. Don't fucking care. He just announced that he's going to retire. So that's out there. That's done. It's over with. Now he's going home. I understand he has like 15 home tracks because everything in the Northeast is close to each other, like I just said. But this is like, other than Dover, which we've already been to, this is like one of his home tracks. Oh, yeah, he's really fucking good here, too. He led 254. How many laps are in this race, Rod? 301? He led 254 of those laps last season, won the race. In 2022, he led 172 laps, ended up finishing 4th, but up front all fucking day. 7 top 6 finishes in the last 8 races here. He was fast at Sonoma. Don't forget about that. He was 3rd place at Dover, 4th place at Richmond, where he led 228 laps. Hasn't been the best Martin Truex Jr. season. We know that. But at the tracks where he's been statistically good in the past, Dover, Richmond, Sonoma, he showed up and looked really good. He's been fast. Don't overthink it. Martin Truex Jr. is going to show up and be a fucking beast this weekend. He loves this place. He's going to show up and be good. It's 5-1. It's short, but I think you have to take it. And I guess you're going to talk about Bell here in a second, but Bell is definitely in consideration as well. I feel like he's just so much more of a wild card. I bet on him a bunch lately, and it keeps biting me in the ass. This will probably be the week where I don't hit him, and he ends up getting it done. But I think Truex is the way to go, 5-1. So Busch 45-1, Brad 18-1, and Truex 5-1.
I mean, I'm with you on Truex. That's one of the biggest things where this particular track, for whatever reason, I mean, maybe he likes lobster and he knows Like if I win this race, I'm gonna get a really good lobster. So he's racing for that lobster for sure. Ricardo saying 8 watermelon for lunch today, so it must be a premonition for Chastain.
That's weird. I had M&Ms for lunch, so that's why Kyle Busch. I mean, I know
Elliott Sadler.
Kenny Wallace, or not Kenny Wallace, Kenny Schrader.
Or Ricardo. It could just mean that you like watermelon. It's very. All right, I'm copping out. I maybe it's because of my brain overload. Maybe it's because I've ingested far too much information over the last few days to try to make a decision on this. But as I was going over these numbers, I was like, Bell is the favorite, and it pisses me off that he's at plus 450 because I don't want to bet him at plus 450. I don't want to give that out. And then I was like, Larson is there too, but I don't want to give him out as an outright at his number either. So I combine the two. The Caesars has Bell or Larson either to win this race at plus 220. I'm just going to take that, and I'm not going to make that decision. So I'm going to, obviously, like Cody said, Christopher Bell, the favorite of this race, probably one of the guys that makes you the most pissed off. He won this race in 2022, made the asterisk report on iFantasy race for 2023. He was, he finished 29th after starting on the pole, but he had pit problems. He had a loose wheel. He had a bad pit strategy. And then to make matters worse completely, crashed on lap 288 while running in 8th. So 301 laps in this race. He didn't even make it the whole 301 because he crashed while he was in 8th place. Tough day for him there. And then that's kind of what you're like, that could be the outcome of this, right? That's why if you take Christopher Bell outright and he does that, you're pissed off. Kyle Larson, same thing. He could be leading 450 laps of 320 or 301. And then, he gets laser beamed by some lobster who doesn't want him to have him in his pot. And then all of a sudden now he's crashed out and Christopher Bell's right behind and he wins. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard to not want to take Truex. And I definitely agree with you on Truex. So if I can't take Truex, if you've already taken Truex, then give me the next best 2 drivers there, but give me both of them because I don't want to have to pick. I don't want to have to make that decision of picking between these two. So Nico talking about Bell had an excellent run last week from the second car starting from the back. Yeah, I mean, he did charge right through the field, right? He had to start all the way in the back and really made a hell of a move on the field, passing cars left and right. Imagine if he has that same type of car and he starts toward the front of this particular race, a race in which he's won, a race in which he started from the pole. He did finish second in 2021, right? So he's pretty damn good at this track. He led 42 laps in 2022. So yeah, if you want to take him outright, fine, but I don't have the conviction to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, if you take it from plus 400 down to plus 200 and you add in Larson, like that's a pretty good deal. I like that. And both of these guys are high risk, high reward, right? They both could easily come out and lead all 301 laps. Nobody would be surprised at all by it, or they could both wreck and nobody would be surprised at all by it either. So yeah. And Brandon as well, iFantasy race splits the speed rankings into 4 segments each race. Over the last 2 years, Truex was first in speed for 7 of those 8 segments. 4th and 8th, or 4th in the 8th segment. Insane. Yeah. And by the way, if you're not on iFantasy race, or if you're not checking out their stuff, you should be, because we could sit here and just read off his stats all day and it would actually be really good information, which we don't have time for all of that, but so much good stuff over there. I really love it when I do my own research. Then I go see Ryan's stuff and I'm like, let's fucking go, baby. And JDK as well saying Truex last year was really something else. Watching it right now. Rod, he's listening to our podcast live, getting the bets for this season, and watching last season at the same time. Said there's Truex and then everyone else, a lot like Kyle Larson last week, I think. Shout out to Nico, by the way, as well. Listener from down under over there checking us out. So we appreciate that. Thanks for joining us live as well. We did it, Rod. I got to tell you, so much easier on this side of the show. And I'm very happy and thankful that you're back.
I am very happy and thankful to be back. Again, this is a happy place for me. It always has been, always will be. You folks over here in the chat make it so much more. I mean, I remember when we were doing this and we didn't have a chat. It was still fun, but we didn't have the instant hit of being able to talk to the listeners and me kick this table and shake the camera. But yeah, listen, I love it. I'm glad to be back. I will strive to be back for the rest of this week. I can't make any promises. I know that I'll be able to do tomorrow, and from what it looks like, I'll be able to do Thursday and Friday as well. So we'll hope that schedule holds through. So but get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over the bets for this USA Today 301, which, by the way, shout out USA Today for sponsoring that. That's a pretty big get for you guys. Cody started you out with Kez over William Byron, plus 100. And then Keselowski over Gibbs. Sorry, Gibbs fans, at minus 120. I have to agree with them on that one, though, because Gibbs has really been struggling lately. I gave you both Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson to finish inside the top 10 at plus 100. Doing a lot of combos today. I don't want to make decisions. I think that's the whole purpose of this. Cody gave you Harrison Burton under 28.5 at minus 115. I gave you Michael McDowell. Wait, the under is better than, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm giving you Michael McDowell under 21.5 at minus 115, which means he's going to finish better than. Cody gave you Brad Keselowski as the winner of Group B over on Superbook at plus 390 over Logano, Ty Dillon, and Kyle Larson. And then gave you Brad Keselowski as a top 5 car at plus 250. I said Bubba Wallace would be a top 10 car at plus 220. Cody followed up with Briscoe as a top 10 car at plus 350. Haley is a top 10 car at 8-1. And Hocevar is a top 10 car at 9-1. I said Joseph Logano would be a top 5 car at plus 150. Cody gave you KFB as a top 5 at 6-1. Car lifted it to top 10 at 2-1 and top Chevy at 13-1. And gave you the true DGen special of the week, Carson Hocevar, top Chevy, 80-1. I said that the winning car would come from between 10 and 15 at or 10 and 19 rather at plus 120. Could you imagine 10 and 15? Go Casgrala at plus 120. Cody gave you Martin Truex Jr. at 5-1, 18-1 for Brad Keselowski, 45-1 for Kyle Busch to win this race. And I said, flip a coin, take Bell or Larson at plus 220 to win the USA Today 301 from the New Hampshire. What is it? New Hampshire Motor Speedway? New Hampshire Speedway? New Hampshire.
It's Motor Speedway.
Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire.
Beautiful. Love it, Rod. I feel pretty good about this week. Man, different stuff, but good stuff. I liked it. Excited to go make some money in New Hampshire.
Me too. So, all right. Well then, Cody, shall we say goodnight? This is actually later for me now than it would be. It would be 6:24 at home. It's 9:24 now. So I feel the 6:24, but I know it's 9:24. I hate time zones. Yeah, we should just do away with them.
Stupid.
Stupid stuff. But yeah. Well then, Cody, all we have left to do is set everybody free to go fill out their cards.
Yes, sir, Rod. We will we'll do that. Follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. Do us a favor, go over to the Facebook, search NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Give us a follow there. We're like a couple followers away from being able to live stream on Facebook again, which we've done forever, but whatever, it's stupid. Anyways, follow us, help us out. We appreciate it. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com. I got a ton of stuff out over there. I'll share it all over on the X again, where you can follow me at Husker_Zeeb. Today, the article of the day from me is Super Bowl odds. All the odds, a little bit of info on each team going into the season, and then my picks, where I'm spending my money, at least at this time of the season, going into it and trying to get some good value. So check that out. And Rod, hopefully we'll see you back the rest of the week. F1 Gambling Podcast as well. They're back 3 weeks in a row. We got F1 racing coming up. So pretty excited for that. Spanish Grand Prix will kick it all off this week. So make sure you check that out, and see you tomorrow.
Ole. We'll see you guys next. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review. Be sure to check out the back road. They're doing the Lord's work over there. Seth and Elliot are. I know I'm not being able to join them, but we'll get back there as soon as I possibly can. So check all that stuff out. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for sure for Xfinity, and then for F1 as well. So until then, everybody, have some fun. Go fill out your cards. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go racing and let it ride.